guys. So I am doing a really quick pop in this morning, completely unscheduled. So if you're like, what the heck? No, I didn't plan on it. But it was actually kind of a fun synchronicity that was had because this morning I was going to be doing a podcast feature on a forensic podcast that I'm so excited to be on, actually. But it turns out that both them and myself were having, you know, health issues and just feeling sicky sick. And so we decided to reschedule it for a better time. But then that meant that I was sitting here with my coffee, kind of reflecting on some emails. And I always love and appreciate being able to do psychic and metaphysical things over here. And then over here, be doing, social work and forensic therapy and stuff because get to see the correlation. Hi, Mary. Hi, John. Hi, Matt. I get to see the correlation between like timing and patterns and astrology and people who are struggling with their mental health, as well as people who are struggling with their mental health in different spaces and places. And it always makes me feel a little less alone. It always makes me feel a little more connected. And one of the things that I've noticed in the past 24 hours is I've had a lot of people messaging me about their health or feeling better. A lot of headaches, a lot of exhaustion, a lot of depression, a lot of feeling pulled, feeling taught at the hands of the universe like a Stretch Armstrong doll. And I can empathize with that. I do know the astrology is pretty heavy lately, and it's not going to really start lifting. I mean, it's kind of starting to lift now as we come out of retrograde, but it's a slow process. It's like what I imagine people that are buried in rubble after a war, waiting for the rescue people to show up. Hi, Susie. Hi, Mary. And you're waiting, and you don't know how long it's going to be, and it's going to be a process. And even if people are lifting rubble off of you, you still got to get cleaned up and go to the emergency room and like all of the things that are going to just be. It's very much that process as of late. The Schumann resonance, a lot of crazy energy bursting within our galaxy, electromagnetic frequencies, pew, pow, pew, 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 hitting at us. Beautiful aurora borealis, which I always go out living in northern Minnesota now and being able away from the city to see the stars. It's very cool. It's also kind of scary because I am absolutely an open-minded conspiracy person, and I'm always watching the satellites, and I'm watching Elon's link, Starlink, and then I'm looking at all the space trash, and then I will occasionally see things and think, there it is, there's the alien. And because I've just noticed them, they see me, and like I have a contact moment. But I'm always kind of out there thinking, this could be it. This could be that moment. And I know that there's been a lot of retrospection, retrospection. Yeah, I mean, that's a word. There's been a lot of hindsight. There's been a lot of contemplation. There's been a lot of deep thinking, and there's been a lot of transformation happening in the space. So I do have my tarot cards, but I'm not going to lie to you. I'm really not feeling 100% right now. I ate food late last night when I shouldn't, and part of growing older and having gallbladder removal and all that stuff is you can't eat food after like 8 o'clock. And part of me is like, no, I'm a late night owl, and I'm up, and it's 11, and I'm not going to go to bed for another 2 hours. I'm going to I made pierogies and ate a bunch of pierogies, and then decided that instead of staying up, that now after I've eaten, I kind of just want to watch this movie and sit down and then the next thing I know, I was woken up in the middle of the night feeling very sick because I did that to myself. So that's a real thing. And so I did it to myself. I'm not like really sick, but I'm totally like the horrible want to die sick because I did that to myself. And so I wanted to just jump on because I'm trying to keep my mind busy. I put my eye makeup on to do this podcast, and then they messaged me that they were sick and not feeling well, and I was like, "Oh, thank God." Because I don't feel good either. And, yeah, Susie says, "Man, I hope everyone's well. I am editing the negative for power. The more they throw at me, the stronger I get." It absolutely does. It becomes a compost. It becomes something that we recycle and that we begin to use, and I imagine those like innovative children that are making little igloo houses out of plastic bottles, and the young kid who is up for winning a Nobel Peace Prize for making a new breed of mealworm that'll eat through plastics. And just, man, there's so much cool stuff happening. Ocean cleanup efforts, and there's also, I mean, there's good and bad where it is happening. So if you know that there's bad, there's inevitably good, and if there's good, there's inevitably bad. I had a morning memorial, like a prayer circle for Spiritual Sunday, that was pretty tearful for me, because I'm not sure if you've listened to the news or if you even check the news anymore, because God help us with the news. But not Cincinnati, Connecticut. That's where my brain, by the way, stored those because they were alphabetical. Connecticut. Um, and there have been a lot of police ambushes around the country, but there just have been some ambushes in the news of people calling in police calls, fake calls, getting the police to respond. And when the police show up, they attack them and shoot them. And man, it was just a few years ago that I was graduating from the police program out of Minneapolis in the height of the Black Lives Matter and the riots, thinking and crying, how can I help more? How can I be more prepared? And so running into the fire and going into that program and wanting to be educated, and, if you, I always want to be in it. I always want to be in the know. That's what helps me feel the safest. And the experiences that I had just pumping my gas with my police shirt on. I mean, I can't imagine. I can't imagine. One of them, and if you are a religious or spiritual person and have any extra positive energy, I mean, obviously, I'm sending a lot of my prayers out to my dad. Almost all of them go to my dad because we're still looking for a kidney, and he's still waiting and struggling with that. But of the three police officers that were ambushed in Connecticut, I mean, one of them has a baby on the way and two at home, and was just showing up to what they thought was a domestic dispute. And it like is really hard for me to process that. I don't, I mean, I work with all sorts of heinous crime. I specialize in heinous crime. People that have eaten the jugular out of their infant child, and I mean, cases that will stay with me forever. But the planning, and people out there saying, fuck the police. And um, I don't understand that, because it's kind of a same platform of people who they've been bullied, and they understand what it's like to have been discriminated against for something, whether it be your cleavage or your uniform or your skin color or your cornrows or your shoes or the way you wear your clothing or how tall you are or how fat you are or how many freckles you have. And the likelihood that you've experienced bullying is probably 100% if you're human. Um, and so to understand that shooting a police officer just because of their occupation, that's a hate crime. Because they're in a uniform, that's a hate crime. And if you do it on the platform of because you don't like racism, or you don't like the hatefulness and the anger and the violence of our past, and you're just so angry that you're to the point you're willing to do anything to make it stop, I think you're delusional if you've jumped over the cliff into the violence itself and are now just shooting people, because they're people. Someone's brother and someone's son and someone's dad. Um, that little baby will never get to know their dad. Like, that to me is just like, I don't understand it. I don't understand it. Um, and I don't want to understand it. And as a Virgo, I don't say that very often. So, do you know what I mean? So I was happy that my podcast fell through this morning and that I will be able to take the time needed to just process it. I'll be reaching out because I work crisis, because I'm standby for people that are both veterans and law enforcement officers. It's that kind of stuff in the headlines that does ripple out PTSD, and it ripples out the mental illness that so many other people really do feel. And so knowing that that's happening, I mean, they're going to be scared to show up for their job. Recruitment is already low. I mean, you start having headlines like that, and then you really do start to question the kind of people that run towards the fire, because it's one thing to want to help people because they need your help, but it's another thing to want to help people that don't want your help and will shoot you if you try and help. Um, it's almost like our society is having this like codependent meltdown. Maybe we are. So anyway, it's been kind of a pretty heavy morning. And so that is why, if you are jumping in and jumping on, Susie, Mary, Andrew, John, Matt, thank you, all of you, that it's so important um, to take care of yourself and protect your energy, and why I have my tarot cards that I will be pulling readings from later. I'll hop on later when I'm feeling better and in a better mindful space, to do guidance, because I think that you should be in a good space when you're doing guidance, and it's pretty important. So even though I can be depressed and have horrible things going on in my life, I can take the time needed and the water and the food and a nice shower and sit and like remedy myself to the place that you need to be to help other people and to pull from self to give. So um anyway, so I just kind of wanted to share that, because I had a question, for anybody who is going to be popping in on here with me this morning, anybody who might continue to listen to it later, and who might message me. I'm going to be hopefully collaborating with some people to be more accountable on no man's land, because I really do love doing the headline news and being able to contemplate it in a way that allows people to recycle it and feel aware, but not like, you know, depressed. And Mary says, "Man, I'm thinking how my son just found brown butter chocolate chip cookie flavored coffee creamer. Man, that sounds like a delicious thing." Um, and prayers for everyone. Good afternoon, Andrew. Good to see you, Andrew. Thank you. I'm always looking for a kidney for my dad. So for all the prayers for me, I just pass them right on through to my dad, who is doing daily dialysis and taking care of his wife, who's struggling with dementia and uh, the late stages of diabetes, and just being immobile, incontinent. And he is a day-to-day thing with low energy and ability and patience, and it's a thing. It's a thing. Um, I would if I could. If I hadn't had ovarian cancer, I'd be able to donate a kidney. So the fact that I don't even have it anymore and I'm cancer free, uh, it bothers me, Andrew. So I appreciate that. Ugh. I can't talk really a lot about it. um, I just encourage people that if your loved ones are alive and well, that you go see them and that you go visit and that you hug them. So yeah, uh, he's doing okay. I can't lie. Dang, someone messaged me and I can't lie. Um, so that is what Spiritual Sunday is for, is just being thankful for what you do have. And man, if I didn't already wake up, uh, you know, I shouldn't have eaten pierogies in the night. That made me weak. And then waking up to people shooting police officers that are responding to domestic violence. Man, what's wrong with people? Ah. So those people will go to prison. I'd really love their kidneys. Oh, I would like it if we could take theirs. But that's not my place either. So it's kind of a struggle uh, to watch the people that you love pass away. But I wanted to share something that was a struggle this week with that, actually, which is any advice on this struggle because uh, we feel like we have found a donor. Now, this will be like the eighth person because, if you've had COVID or you've had a COVID shot or you've had this or you have myocarditis, you can't be a donor. I want you to think about that right now, about how many people that is. Nurses on strike, health insurance gone awry. To get a kidney it's been a little bit of a struggle. But you go through people, insurance only pays for so many people, you go through and you do that and you do all the things. And then we find a person who's healthy and you find a person that's willing and you find a person that's ready and you find a program that swaps people and you find like they're not the exact blood type, but someone over here needs this kidney and that. Like we've got the party of four. Let's go, let's go. And everybody excited to do this. And then you hear that there is a halt on the brakes because you have to, people it's got to be anonymous because you can't coerce them and you can't pay for it. It can't be a gift. Can't do any of that. So you got to trust that, the insurance and these programs, they're flying the people out and they're going to make it happen. And then halfway through the process, they go, okay, well, to fly these people out, we need to make sure that they're qualifying and that they don't have too much money. Because if they have too much money, then they should fly themselves out. But they can't fly themselves out if they make too much money, by the way. That just means you're ineligible. You can't just go, oh, well, yeah, no problem. I don't need you to fly me. I can fly my fucking self. I want to help somebody and give a kidney. No worries. Yeah, their brother works for Delta. I've even got a voucher. No worries. Can't do that. You can't do that. You can't do that. If you make too much money, you're just not eligible. You got to find another program. Now, my dad retired. I don't know if you guys have gone through the gap, as they call it, the retirement space, where if you go on Medicaid, Medicare, and this is where anybody who's been down this road is going to immediately roll their eyes. And the fact that like 50% of our country or more, majority of them being veterans, know this struggle and are wincing up right now. So my dad took out money to make sure that my stepmom could have Medicaid and Medicare so that if something happens to him because he's terminal and he's dying, could be cared for. If you cash out all your trusts and your savings and you buy the bed and the catheter and the machine and the nurses and make sure you have hardwood floors so it's easy to mop when they pee on themselves, like if you do that and you spend the money and you do it right, my dad made too much money last year. Now he didn't see any of it. It all went to debt. It all went to make sure he had a tombstone. But he made too much money. So this past week, I've been trying to figure out how to get around this. Because if you do a GoFundMe, can't do that. Can't do that. If I sell my body on OnlyFans, I can't do that. I don't even know what to do. So I'm crying on the internet as a professional who doesn't know what to do. So tomorrow is when I will, tomorrow's my day off. And I will get the kids off to school and I'll do the dishes and I'll take a shower like a normal day. And then I'm going to call people all day long from these organizations to figure out how you're supposed to do it. Because if you're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't. I mean, is this why people fly to other countries to get their shit done? Is this why people are snatching kids and the missing children and the trafficking? Is this why our trafficking is so bad? Because I work in sex crime and I know that it's bad for people just wanting to feel loved. I know that people will snatch somebody just to force company. And that happens every day because our country is sad and lonely and sick. But are we snatching people in the caves so that we can I just don't get it. I don't understand it. So I really struggle with it. And I feel like, had I sold out and if I was on a show, if I had my own paranormal TV show, and if I had taken different avenues, that I had a platform of thousands of people, I wouldn't be selling cruises. I wouldn't be interested in a signed 8x10. I would be wanting to do this. What the fuck do you need a second Lamborghini for when people's loved ones? I don't understand it. I just really struggle. So anyway, this is the mental space that you're seeing and witnessing of a person trying to help a person that can't help a person because you're not allowed to help people. That this is the machine that we're in. This is the absolute machine that we're in. Just like I've got clients who, to keep from going homicidal, they just would like a jacket. They would like to go to a shelter and be able to get a jacket or get some shoes or go to the co-op. But because they're registered felons, because I work with the worst of the worst, they can't. They can't go to these places and get the things they need. And so then they become desperate and they have to take it. And if I have an extra jacket, and if I could take, when my dad is losing all this weight, he has all these extra clothes that he doesn't want, and I have these extra jackets, I can't give it to my clients or I lose my license. You can't do that because you can't do that. You've got to do the fucking hokey pokey to help people. I don't understand that. And absolutely that's why I went into forensic psychology, and I went into it because, man, I remember being little. Man, I remember the police coming and not doing anything. I remember being that girl. I remember wanting and saying that I was going to make a difference. I remember saying I'm going to take the low pay because somebody's got to do it. And here I am trying to do it. And man, if it's not fucking impossible, it's almost impossible. It's to the point that I'm crying every day. I don't know how you do it. So
without being a hypocrite, because I don't want to have like, I hate pity parties. I hate them. And I don't like being at even my own. I get really disgusted by myself. So in this moment of like wiping my tears and thinking, okay, what am I going to do about this? I'd like to know what you guys are doing. Because here's the deal, it's not just my struggle. If you make under $250,000 a year, which is the majority of Americans, it's only a small 1% to 2% of people who are able to navigate these things and do it with ease. How are you doing it? Have you found the loophole? Have you figured it out? Um, do you have a key? Do you have a secret? Do you have a hint? Because I will gladly take it. I'm all ears and I'm listening, and I am 2 steps shy of going to Fox 4 and doing a fucking sob story for the Thanksgiving Day segment. That this is what you let me give you the story. My husband can do the music. I can take the photographs. You've got it all right here. Here we go. Let's go. Here we go. Let's go. Do you know somebody? Yeah. And here we are looking. I'm looking in the chat room. Chaley said, "Yeah, I stopped going to school with just a few classes short of my bachelor's in sociology because I would get so fired up and fired at any job I had." Um, Mary, you're absolutely an important person. Every single person in my life is important, and every single person alive is important. So I appreciate you joining me. And someone says, talk with a good lawyer. Now, here's the deal, lawyers are like tattoos, and a good lawyer ain't cheap, and a cheap lawyer ain't good. And I think I have 69 cents in one bank account and a few hundred in another that'll be wiped out when I go to Kansas City next month because I work in social services. So I don't have money to do that kind of thing. I don't have extra money to like cut the trees that are bending over my house that are going to collapse on me in my sleep, or like pave my driveway. Like I'm just like every other person with bills to pay and um the kind of stuff for that, the Medicaid process. My dad has paid a lawyer to go through and do all of that, which is the not 20, not 30, not 40, keep going, keep going, keep going, thousands of dollars that he took out to remedy things, which has now kicked him out of the eligibility for um, getting the team that I believe they're on the East Coast to Kansas City for the stuff. So you can't do it. And disability is really interesting because I have clients that apply for disability all the time. And when I was a caseworker, God, it was horrible that this was the joke. That this is even a joke is a joke, and it should be a joke. And if you're not in this realm yet, or you don't have friends or loved ones in this realm yet, ho, you'll be not laughing too, hearing the laugh track that is the gap, the 5-year gap, but that also the disability. Like I have clients with Parkinson's, with stage 3 cancer, lymphoma, biocarcinoma, every itis you can think of. They're declined from their disability. Declined. And while they appeal, you try and get a lawyer, maybe you just appeal it the first time, second time. The joke is fourth time's a charm. Do you know how many people die before they even get to the third appeal for their disability because they ran out of bags, their ship bags, or their diabetic needles, or their medication, and it's just horrific. It's absolutely horrific. I can't. And I know that I'm not the only one. That's why it's horrific. My dad it's such a struggle when I'm there visiting him. Andrew, love seeing you. We're keeping the faith. Thank you. This is just my morning vent on Friday or Sunday. Um, what's really interesting is, you can't make a certain amount of money for that time period. And people will be like, well, I don't want to get a job because I don't want to be declined from my disability. And if I work, they're going to think that I'm capable when really I'm going to work and I'm pushing my body to the absolute limit and I'm to tears and I'm not able to be a parent or anything. I'm all I'm doing is working, and then I come home and do that. And then I watch the pain management fairy come in and give them Valium or Vicodin or, something to ease their pain and make them addicts on their way out. Man, I'm telling you, it's pretty bad. And it's just ugly. And it's not a good system, and it's a struggle. So, my concern or question is for those of you out there, um, please let me know what you have found. Let me know what answers you have. Or if you're a news reporter needing a segment, or if you work at Harley, or if you work, if you're a millwright, if you're a Ford person. Man, my dad has worked with and touched so many people that the avenues for tomorrow when I sit down and start calling people. Um, yeah. And then I think about how I am a mom and I work with violent offenders, and some of the things on my counter that inspire me on days that I'm really low are like when I've gone to do school visits and little girls or people will tell me like, "Oh, I thought I was too short, or I thought girls couldn't do that," or "Wow, that's so cool. I want to do that." And I think, "Oh, you probably don't want to do what I do." But getting those messages and stuff, it's so inspiring that I don't want to let those people down. Like if I were to, go online and just sell my body and sell my body parts and shit in a cup and do all those weird, crazy, low integrity things that, like, God dang, I feel like I wouldn't be able to do the other press or the other professional stuff. Um, it's just one of those things. Like you struggle. Like you have to know, like, what do I gotta do? What do I gotta do? Like the struggle is real. I gotta like it's like a Steve Martin skit in Parenthood, if you've not seen that movie. And I know that everybody's got their struggles. And the other day, one of my sons came home from school and he's being bullied pretty badly. And he's being bullied because he's skeptical. So one friend is a Catholic and one friend's a Christian and one friend's this. And, my son steps in and says, well, da 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 da, and has gotten bullied. And and even he thinks, I hate this. And I'm just kind of watching everybody struggle a little bit. And this morning, my emails were full of people's stories of them struggling. And then I was going to go do that podcast, and I was puking up pierogies. And the podcast person said, "Yeah, I've been in the ER all night and I've not been doing well." And I thought, dang, if this just isn't the day today. So I was going to come on here and just delegate, um, which is often, I tell my clients to delegate. I tell people that work with me to delegate. And you have to put your money where your mouth is. You have to do what it is that you say. And sometimes that's the momentum and the magic. You've got to at least ask, and then you have to put your foot forward. So, what would you do if you were me? What do you know that I don't know? What have people done that is the answer? What information could you give me? Because that is, for people that are like, man, I would really love to help. Just let me know how to help. Um, yeah, and as Chaley said, it's this kind of breakdown that really leads to a large portion of the violent crime happening today: road rage, domestic assaults, neglect on children. It's because the system that we feel or have been made dependent upon begins to break down, and it's a struggle. And for those of you guys looking at, I get trolls every day. Going online and doing Paranormal Sarah, going online and doing public speaking. Gosh, when I did a Dragon Con, I probably got trolled the worst in my life that I have ever been trolled. Um, the risk you take for going online is putting yourself out there for people to make fun of you and give you crazy energy. And I would say I probably get in a week 1 to 2 people to tell me that I'm going to go to hell because I work in the metaphysical. I probably get 1 to 2 people to tell me that I'm going to go to hell because I work with sex offenders. I have people threaten my life and my children because I do work with sex offenders and violent criminals, and that if I'm going to be nice to them and that I'm going to help them, well, then they hope that that happens to me and my children, which jokes on them. It did happen to me, which is why I'm working in forensics. So, what people say to me doesn't hurt me. I have people message me online, men, dick pics that, they'll pay me $500 to do this or do that. And I would love money. I would love to have the money to go visit my dad right now. I would love to have the money to fly him where he needs to go to get a kidney. If you're not thinking that I wouldn't take every single option, if I did, that I'd have the money to do it, you're fucking wrong. Ha! But my integrity, I don't know why I have the integrity I have when I've been raped and I've been molested. I don't, I feel like the power is in your choice. And permission is really important, and consent is really important. And in the digital realm, um, people can say and pretend a lot of things, but very few people actually do real shit, like do real good work. And that's priceless. Yeah. Catholic charities are difficult when my screen name and my Google persona is Paranormal Sarah. Like, I applied for my doctorate at the University of St. Thomas. It's a Catholic school here in Minnesota. No. Um, and yeah, Mary, my Patreon won't let me post because I got in the COVID space. I posted a YouTube link that was attached to my Twitter that was a video about COVID, and they banned me and took it down and anything related to that post. So then I had it all connected. So my Twitter was frozen and my Patreon, it just doesn't even let me log in. So I can't log in, but every month they take money out of my account. So that's funny. Um, so that's a thing. Um, yeah. Are you doing anything on it still? I do. All of the Patreon stuff, all the content still goes out on all my social media. So if you're following on my social media, you still get the content. And then I'm hoping that what I push on my content goes to my Patreon because they're connected, but I don't know because I can't see it. The charities and some of the things that I'm going to be looking at, I'm going to be just kind of going through the organization. They work with their own charities, so you have to go through theirs. My father squandered a $500,000 before he died. I had to clean it up. I had to sell near everything. You have to do what you have to do. Talk with someone that knows how to get through it. Yeah. Um, and Jack, as you notice, I don't ban people. I would be a hypocrite if I said, ban them, get rid of them. I believe in free speech. If you want to be a douchebag, by all means, you can. It doesn't really affect me. So I don't know. It's kind of like being able to focus your efforts. I don't know. I'm going to trust that the organization has their charities that they work with. So I'm going to call them tomorrow And then also there's like the donor program, that's the medium like liaison in the middle person. And then on the other end, you can do all of your own individual things, which would be like, I'm going to go through all the things that my dad loves and the things that my dad already does. So, like working for Ford, being a millwright, um, doing things with Harley, doing things with certain charities that he worked with throughout his entire life. Of course, he did a lot of it anonymously because his father, through the Christian church, required that they do it anonymously. I don't know if you're going to have to like prove that you've supported that because I don't know how that'll work, but um, it'll be interesting. So tomorrow is going to be a day for me to accumulate all of my focus and my energy and just hopefully be calling the right numbers and getting the right person on the other line who is actually able and willing to help me and that will like follow through with it. And I know that there's so many avenues that can take this and that can be taken. Um, it all kind of started in the very beginning from a fuck up, which oftentimes people remind me like, man, you ought to go back to the original fuck up and like sue people. Which I could do that, I guess, right? But man, I just don't want to. I want to um I want to do it the right way. I really want to give credence to the ability to stay focused and have endurance and do things and have it work out. And so I'm going to do that probably until the day that my dad dies, which hopefully is many, many, many years from now. So, um, yeah, that's the way that wow, come on, Sarah, stutter. Cookie is going to crumble. And I won't be giving up. I don't give up, and I've told that to the people who've had the opportunity to work with me and clients who've put me in the hospital, and I've been beat up, I've been punched, I've been physically and emotionally and mentally um, practicing to be durable. That's one of the things that um, I like about myself. And really, all the trauma just makes me funnier, I think. So I'll just probably be really, really funny by the time all of this is over with. Um, so yeah. Anyway, I hope that you guys have a absolutely wonderful Sunday. I hope that whatever it is you're doing it with a smile. And I want you to know that I will be posting this future podcast I'm doing for Forensics Week. It is called, let me make sure I'm saying it correctly. It is called The Contingency Click. And I'm really excited to be a guest on their show. And if you guys have, excuse me, a podcast that you listen to and you would like to have me be a guest or to talk about forensic psychology, metaphysical stuff, or all of that, um, let me know because that's what we're doing. We're trying to spread the word and have fun and keep our nose to the grindstone. So, you guys, thank you for joining me for my little cry fest, my little fit, my little moment. It's really all it takes is for somebody to send me a message about my dad in the right mental moment that I'm not prepared for. So I wasn't prepared for that. And yeah. And it's just adrenal response maybe. So you do what you have to. And guys, I'm thinking about you. I hope that you're well wherever you are at. And I will see you on the flip side. Hopefully tonight. I'm going to be logging on later this evening, probably 8 o'clock. If you're someone like me looking for a time period, as long as I feel better, then at 8 o'clock, I want to jump on here and do some tarot readings, maybe even some bone readings. And if you would like one for yourself, if you would like to take advantage of my free mini readings, um, remember, don't panic. My lucky number is going to be 42. So for any specialty readings today, if you want a reading, if you want a tarot reading, if you want whatever, let me know. Message me on paranormalsarah.com or wherever you're listening to this message now, and or catch me tonight later for some free readings maybe. All right, guys. Thank you so much for your support, the good, the bad, and the ugly. And I hope you have a wonderful Sunday. Bye-bye.